Well, welcome back to another episode of Rethink Real Estate. And today we are joined with Julia Gentry, our growth coach. She's currently going through a real estate mastermind with a few of the agents that work within the organization. And she comes through with some great realizations around why you are not successful. And it's one of the things that she's gone through. And you're seeing a lot of people in that real estate mastermind program open their eyes up to certain points around why they're not making their phone calls, why they're not doing the things that are necessary in order to be successful. Because I really believe that that is the root of the problem. And understanding the limiting belief side of things and understanding how you're supposed to catch yourself in those moments and course redirect. So that's a really great insight. We also talk about some of the things, the societal problems with falsified humility or scripted humility. We talk about how then we can obviously honor somebody that we actually then are seeing them do that and actually holding space for them. I think that this is a really good practice when it comes to your clients and buyers and sellers that might be, certainly a little far away from reality, and how we can ultimately hold space for them in the sense of understanding where they're coming from and the different conversational structures to it as well. Personally, it's a great episode. We talk about some of the things that I was struggling with on the week that's passed as well, a little bit of a live coaching session towards the end. Really hope you enjoy it, guys. This is valuable stuff that will keep us going for the future for a sustainable business. So thanks so much. Hope you enjoy. Welcome to Rethink Real Estate. My name is Ben Brady, and this is a real estate podcast aimed to deliver sales strategies, marketing tips, and business insights from industry experts and myself to build a listing-focused business for the future. Let's get into it. Well, folks, we are back with Julia Gentry. Hey, Julia.
Hi, Ben.
So, full disclosure, I am going to let everybody know that Julia's been up all night, even though you can't tell if you're watching. Baby with a fever.
Baby with a fever. All night. Like some people say that, like I was up all night, not like it was all night.
Can I ask though, like with 5 kids, there's got to be like a percentage that one of them's sick at least all the time.
Someone's always in a bad mood. Someone is always pooping. Somebody is like, you know what I'm saying? Like, everyone who's got 2 kids is always like, oh my gosh, you don't understand. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Someone is always doing something at all times.
Can I ask, and I know that we didn't talk about this beforehand, but can I ask, this morning, Calista and I are driving to work together, and there's this lady walking with a pram, and like she's got, a stroller. Pram's an Australian word for stroller. And then they've got a platform on the back of it where like probably her 2-year-old or 3-year-old is standing on the back of it, and then the baby's in the stroller itself. And she just looked pissed off, like proper pissed off. And I go to Calista, I'm like, whoa, she looks mad. She's like, well, of course she's mad. She's got 2 kids. And then immediately it just goes straight to you with 5.
Totally. At some level, Cami and I talk all the time. She goes, Julia, your life just makes for really good material. Just let it rain. So generally when I'm in the pit of despair or I'm up all night long, I honestly think it's good material. It's good material.
Well, you know what? That's a wonderful way of looking at it. But I think that today what we wanted to dive into, and certainly as we follow along with some of the key partnerships that Julia is now partners with our company as our growth coach. And at the moment, you've got a mastermind group of 20 agents, realtors, that are going through some realization and some actualization in the sense of the process that we have spoken about on the podcast many times. You take people through with going through recognizing a limiting belief and then going through with obviously the self-awareness side of the business. But today's title is, this is why you're not successful, or realizing why you're not successful, because you're at a key moment with some of these people in the mastermind where you've seen with your own 2 eyes them literally realize why they're not doing the things they need to in order to be successful.
It's unreal. I mean, I've done this now for truly day in and day out for the last 7 years. Sitting with people, and they come to me for all of the reasons why they're not successful. The economy, I don't have enough money in the bank, the strategic plan didn't work, the process didn't work. Like, they all come with different issues and reasons and things that we would all even say are really valid. And then you get to sit with people and watch the awarenesses just go through the roof as to the real reasons. But this mastermind group, I mean, they're taking it to a whole new level. And they're like anyone else in real estate. I mean, they came with all the very legitimate reasons as to why they're not hitting their goals. And the legitimate reasons as to why they're not making their calls. And, it's the market, it's the industry, it's my business partner, it's my wife, it's all the things. And the last couple of weeks has just been a game changer for these people, understanding that it's not the thing that's keeping them. It's not the thing that they thought it was that's keeping them from being successful. And we've really started to unpack what we call the thing under the thing.
Well, we'll talk about the thing under the thing, but I want to talk about the mindset of people when they come to you in the first degree and in what you're doing in this mastermind course, because I honestly believe that, as we were turning on the podcast here before, I'm still certainly a candidate for this, is that it wasn't working 100% this technology. It's like, oh, well, it's good to see that you fail once in a while. I'm like, no, things just fail around me sometimes. It's not me failing individually. So people come to you at different stages. There's some that aren't very good at the self-reflection in the mirror of saying, hey, it's my fault. They blame other things. But do you get other people that are do you get the people that are obviously good at self-reflection, but overly dramatic in the sense of, I don't know how to put it. Like they're just not ready to admit that it's them, or they admit overly. It's like when somebody says sorry. You know how somebody says sorry too many times? At some point, apologizing just becomes no fucking point because you've said it so many times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think what's always fascinating to me, and I actually just worked with a gal last week. She came to me and she says, I'm familiar with what you're talking about. I said, because I was leading her through the idea of what is the actual framework, which I think of all the courses and workshops and things that we've done, it is the most unprecedented work out there right now around mindset. Mindset right now is kind of like a trendy word. It's almost like, what is that tennis game?
Pickleball.
Which really, when we talk about that for a second, it was just an old guy who couldn't really play tennis. And like, that's all that it is. Like it's a trendy thing.
Kevin Sanchez, right? I said that the other day. I'm like, because he's like, oh, I'm going to play pickleball. I'm like, oh, you've caught the bug. And he's like, what bug? I'm like, the bug of people that can't really play tennis, so they play pickleball.
Yes, Travis and I went and played the other day, and literally I looked up and I go, is this just for the person who can't keep up in tennis? And so they decided to make it easier, but now it's trendy and cool. And Travis goes, yeah, that's exactly what it is. I was like, I'm out. I'm so out. I'm not playing this game. So same thing with mindset. Right now, mindset is such a trendy word that we all think we understand what it is and how to have it, and we don't. We have crap mindsets, and I can tell you that based upon the results that we have in our life. I can tell you by pointing the results in your life, I can tell you exactly the mindset that you don't have, right? So when people come to me, they come to me either because they're legitimately not aware, they're successful and not fulfilled, and now they know it, right? So they've started to repeat a lot of the same habits, do a lot of the same things, and now they're still not fulfilled. I have the money, I have the cars, I have the staff, I have all the things, and it's not giving me what I want. Or I have the other people who come to me, talking with a gal last week, who says, all right, I'm super, super aware, which, to your point, generally when people say that, you're like, oh no, you're actually probably not.
Absolutely.
And she says, I've done tons of therapy, I've done tons of counseling, so this will be great. I was like, all right. 2 sessions later, she says, never in my wildest imagination. She says, I thought I knew about mindset. I had no idea. I thought I understood what therapy and counseling. She's like, had no idea. Like, this is the thing under the thing. I was like, exactly. So I think that what's fascinating about this work is that it allows people to go to a level of awareness that they had no idea they were not living from.
Yeah.
And it starts to tap into a conversation of the realization of, oh, now I know why maybe I'm successful and not fulfilled, or, right, I'm happy but not successful, right?
Yeah.
Or I make some of my calls but not all my calls. And then people are throwing around words this last week around imposter syndrome and self-sabotage, and why I say I'm going to make 25 calls and I never do, or I say I want to be in good shape, but then I never am. Like, all of a sudden people this week were going, oh, I get it. I see why I'm doing this now.
So that's so interesting, because I really want to break that down, because I think it's very valuable in the sense that we all say that we want to make 25 phone calls. We all say that we want to lose 5 pounds. We all say that we want to sell a certain number of houses. But then why don't we? What's the thing stopping us from being successful in our ambition, Julia? What's the disconnect?
I think there's two things. I think one, there's a limiting belief that we didn't know we didn't have. We know about limiting beliefs, right? Some even people who are aware enough will say like, well, I'm just not good enough. And, well, fine. Anyone can say that. We've all had those thoughts, but every single one of us has a limiting belief that shapes our worldview. It shapes how we approach our phone calls. It shapes how we approach our health and wellness. It shapes everything. And if you are saying you want to do something and you're not doing it, you have a limiting belief and you don't know what it is. So there's that piece. The other piece is also that burn, the fire, right? It's the conviction. It's something in you that can't not do it, right? It's, some people will call it our why, the vision. Yes, I call it conviction. It's something that's so deep within me that it motivates me to do hard things because I can't not do them. And I'm connected to what it is. I know what it is, and I can actually make decisions from that place. You couple those two things together, and now you have someone that's unstoppable.
I think that there's a few things that I mentally struggle with in what you're saying, though, is that we all know we've got to do hard things, and to like the can't not, like, do you have to, like, the feeling of can't not to make your phone calls, the feeling to can't not to make your sphere calls. Like I don't understand that method of it, because I've never woken up, a day of my life and gone, I want to talk to perfectly good strangers that I don't know in order to get business.
Yeah.
Like if it's something that you dislike doing, people say don't do it, but that doesn't. There's a lot of things on a day-to-day perspective. You don't like staying up all night, but you had to do it.
Yeah.
Like there's, where do you separate the two?
Well, I think that first and foremost, if we're just going to kind of cut off the dead fat real quickly, I think there's more people in real estate that just should not be in real estate. They're doing it for the money or a quick fix or a Band-Aid. Get out of the business.
Or anonymity, in the sense that they can pretend to be successful and no one really has to keep track of them because there's no measurable element.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you kind of cut off the dead fat right away, I would tell anyone whose motivation for being in this business is the wrong thing, get out of the business, because the person who wants to be in the business will beat you every single time.
Yep.
They'll beat you every time, right? So I think if you legitimately don't want to be in this business, and you can honestly raise your hand and go, my motivation is wrong, like I truly don't want it. Great. There's a million ways to make money. Go find one that you love to do. And then to your point, even I love what I do, Ben, but as my business grows, there is less that I do that I don't love, but I have a ton on my plate right now that is so hard, because it brings out a level of vulnerability, because I found my edge around it. It leans into my limiting belief, and it causes me to trust the place of conviction, which I know these are deep topics if you don't know what I'm talking about, but my work day to day, what I have to do is 100% proving my limiting beliefs to be false, which are super vulnerable. Like it's me, my exposure all day. And then it's also going, what do I believe all day long? So if the hard is, I don't even want to be doing this, get out of, nobody says you have to. You don't.
Yeah. Do you know why do you think that people, because real estate is definitely one of those industries that you look back and 10 years has passed and you've hated every minute of it. Technically, you've gone back and you've gone through this emotional and financial roller coaster that is this industry through and through. Like, I know I've got very dear friends, very successful people in real estate that actually fucking despise the industry.
Yeah. I think, okay, so here's what I'll say. If we now lean into, let's just call it if this is not this high, but for the sake of the exercise, let's say 80% of the people that are in the business for the right reasons. It's not that high, but let's say it is. What we forget as people, this isn't just the real estate industry, but the goal is not the goal, right? Remember, it's about who I'm becoming. It's about my character. And so when I set a goal of, I'm going to make 25 calls, or I want to make $1 million, or I want to build a business, whatever the goal is, then I have to be able to know that it's actually not about that goal anymore. It's about me developing the mindset and heart set to be the person who not only can get there, but can stay there. So we think it's about the goal. So in the middle of the hard, I don't want to make these calls. Well, then it's about you. Who's the call for? What's the point of the call? People have well, what if they reject me? What if they don't like me? What if I have to? You're like, you are so at the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy, safety, security, stability, that you've forgotten why you're even making the call. Well, I want to help people. No, you don't.
No, be honest.
No, you don't, right? Like, you're in your place of probably limiting belief. It's only good if it's perfect. It's one of the people on the call last week. He's like, it's only good if it's perfect. This is why he doesn't get started. He makes a plan for a plan for a plan. He knows all the strategy. He's got it all documented. Why doesn't he take the next step? Because he has a limiting belief that says if it's not perfect, then don't bother. Like the rejection level around that is so high that he will create all day long the plans, but then he won't move on it.
Yep.
Right. So now he's lost the joy of the business. He's completely lost the joy of the business. Why? Because his joy, if you look at his vision, the flip of that is like, it's a world where we actually get to be great. Like we show up to our lives and we live great. And he goes, for the first time, he said it changed the way he made phone calls. It changed the way that he called vendors. It changed the way that he approached his wife. Why? Because his belief changed. Now he found the joy in everything, not just the phone calls or the business or in marriage. I found the joy because I found my target. Right. So that's fascinating to me.
So just for me to simplify it is that limiting belief of that if it's not perfect, I'm not going to do it, or it's not right. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that made him keep planning. And then you've shown him that, you know, there's a belief or a limitless vision, so to speak, is what we call it, that then he has to convict himself on every day.
Yeah. So his vision now is a world where we live great because we're valued and loved for who we are. Over here on the wrong day, unconsciously, he's living from a place of rejection, fear, abandonment all day long. Like literally his past 25 years, he's throwing on his future. That's what all of us do. We do it on every phone call. This is why we're not making 25 phone calls. This is why on an up market or down market or up market or down market, we're literally throwing our past on our future and wondering why we're anxious, depressed, deflated, and not determined to like crush it.
Yep.
And then to the person who's like, well, this business is so hard. You're like, the real estate market is the most predictable cyclical thing you could do. That in the stock market, it's all a market cycle game and numbers game. There should legitimately be no emotion wrapped up in it. That's why this business could be brilliant. So if you're getting tied to it, it's because you have all these expectations, right? Like tons of expectations, and it just doesn't go your way. So the way we shift that is that ultimately he said he had a moment that he legitimately was going to do all things. He had his phone calls laid out. He knew it was supposed to work out. Like he had the plan. He starts to not do it. And in a moment, he says one thing that I told him to say. In one moment, he says, wait a minute, that's not who I am. And it stopped him dead in his tracks. He's getting ready to go about his day, forgetting the calls, forgetting the workout. He's like going to do the same thing that he always does. And he went, that's not who I am anymore.
Yeah, it's one of those moments. I've had those with the work that we've done. Is that when you're sitting there and you're sort of like, oh, I've caught myself. Hang on, I got me. Yeah.
He says I caught myself, and he goes, I didn't have an hour to work out. I didn't have 4 hours to make my calls, but he says I did a 20-minute workout and I called exactly the amount of people that I knew I could call. And he goes, I felt alive for the first time in years. He said, like gives me goosebumps talking about it. He was like on fire.
Yeah, no, that's a cool realization. Mm-hmm. The other thing, the only other thing that like you must see when people come into these masterminds or when you individually coach people is the fact that, have you found that society has scripted people so well for humility and all of these different things that they say what they think they're expected to say to you, but there's just zero belief behind it? Like I get that on a daily basis of people saying, oh, but it's not me, it's the team and all of this type of stuff. I'm like, well, if it's not you and it's the team, why are we in this position of you basically beating your chest? Like it's like there's so many examples of that every day of false humility or scripted humility that to unscript people from what society has taught them or what TikTok is teaching them or what YouTube is teaching you to be like, without any total conviction behind it, Julia, or any real change. I'm a mastermind at that. I'm the master of scripting things to make sure it sounds good, but whether that internal belief is there, obviously will be the long game. But where do you stand on that with people that come to you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think for me, we can do this real time with you too. But my question to you, let's do real time so people can.
Sorry to interrupt the podcast, but wanted to ask a quick favor. If you're seeing any value in what we're providing, we'd love it if you could like, follow, or subscribe, whether you're listening on a podcast or watching us on YouTube. One step further is that if you can think of anybody in your community that this episode could help, we'd love it if you could share it to them so we could cast our message further and broaden our audience. Thanks again.
Yeah. So I always ask myself, when you find patterns in your life, those are huge. And all of a sudden, if we sit long enough, we go, oh, there's a pattern. So for you, there's a pattern of scripting things.
Yep.
Okay. So my question to you would be, what is that giving you?
It's giving me an answer in a moment.
It's giving you an answer in a moment. And what is the answer in a moment giving you?
Giving me the perception of having my shit together.
Okay, there it is. So it's actually now, it gives me this false perception, right? Which gives you control.
Yep.
So I can't change something if I don't actually know what I'm asking it to give me. So for most people, we have to start there. We have to start with, okay, well, people say all the time, well, I don't want to keep drinking. I don't want to not make my calls. I don't want to avoid hard conversations. Okay, but it's giving you something. Otherwise, you wouldn't keep doing it.
Yep.
So when we identify, oh, it's giving me control. It's allowing me to play safe, right? All those things. Then we go, oh, okay, that's fascinating.
Okay.
Now I can move through it. But I think the piece that you're talking about is, okay, once I recognize, oh, it's control, then that leads into your limiting belief, right? Which we know that when you start to lose control, especially for us as an 8 on the Enneagram, which we'll talk about in our next podcast, 8 people don't like losing control. And we have a lot of confirmation bias that would say you lose control and shit happens, right? Like bad things happen, people leave, you can't trust people, you lose money. And I have 30 years of evidence to go, there it is, there it is, yep, there it is. Like I have tons of that. So I hold on to it. This is the same thing as exactly what you're talking about. Right. We develop these scripts over time. Our brain has to actually go, all right, I can't be thinking all of these thoughts. So you know what? That just has to be true. It compartmentalizes the world. It compartmentalizes people. It compartmentalizes money, God, the industry. And then it kind of just puts it on autopilot. So what we're living on is autopilot of the past.
Yep.
So because we saw marriages function a certain way or the industry function a certain way, then we can kind of go, well, that's just the way that it is. All right. Then that's just the way that it is. And so what we're doing is we're, again, taking what we've seen and saw and we're throwing it on our future, expecting a different result. You're not going to get one.
Yeah, it's interesting how, like, from a personal perspective, you can see it in others as well. Now that identifying it in your own right is that, hey, do I believe that, or is it just something scripted? And we've gone through our mission within Harcourts, which is to build alongside our people, and then with Harcourts Auctions is to have the leading technology within real estate and the most innovative process out there. And it's funny how you've got to continue to convict yourself on that every single time you say it, because you could get very scripted at it. For example, when you speak to people about what we're doing and how we're building it, it's a script. It really is. You get so used to saying, you get so used to it, but then you have to sit down with the team and you have to reconvict everybody of it to go, hey, are we just saying this, or are we really living it? Are we really believing it? Because at the end of the day is that we have to, in order for this to have weight into the future.
Well, I was just going to say on that point real quick, because I think I always tell people, and you included, right? When we landed on your vision and your mission and some of the things that you're doing, I was like, be careful what you put out there. Be careful what you dream of. Be careful what you pray for, because here's how this works. Think about it from a physical fitness perspective. If I said to you, Ben, I want to lose 30 pounds or I want to be really fit, you're going to walk me into the gym and you're going to say, do 100 push-ups. And I'm going to look at you and go, why? Why would I do that? This is what we do. Like, we set a goal. I want to make $1 million. I'm going to lose 30 pounds. I'm going to make 25 calls. And then the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, walks us in the gym and goes, all right, do some squats and push-ups. And then we're like, what's wrong? Why does it burn? That's going to hurt. And we're like, hello. Like, at some level, the only way that we're going to get the results that we want is you got to burn. You got to lean in. You're going to be tested on it just a little bit, just like you guys are. From a technology perspective, you are cutting edge in what you're doing. I've worked in the real estate industry for 15 years now. Nobody is doing technology the way that you are. Nobody. And I'm not saying that to make you feel good. I'm saying that because it's fact. Yet, as I watch your journey, you guys are tested on this in every sense of the imagination, because people don't get it. Do you? Technology isn't working. Do you still believe? People are leaving because it's still not good enough. And it's this constant conversation for you and I coming back and going, what do you believe? In the midst of the tension, when you look different than the rest of the industry, when people don't see it, when it's not working as good as it should. All of these moments for us are just actually giving us an opportunity to build us, right? Pressure is a privilege. And I think we forget that.
Pressure is a privilege.
It's a privilege.
That's a new one. You know what? That's good. That's real good. Does anyone would think you know what you're doing? This is unbelievable. Hey, but like, talk to me about this though. How do we as individuals, when you recognize somebody that's in a moment that you can see that they're scripted based on the world, how do you honor them in the moment how do you help them? Because one of the things that I have because you here's a good example. You said, hey, I want to lose 30 pounds, come in and do 100 push-ups. The person that is the person right there going, okay, you told me you want to lose 30 pounds. I'm going to bring you in here and tell you to do 100 push-ups. And when they don't go, oh, why? They go, fuck you. You are an asshole. Don't call me out, right? And again, I know it's in the delivery. I know it's all of those different things, but in the position that I've been in for many years through North America is that the one thing that I've had to obviously do versus being in Australia it has a very different culture of that. Give them an absolute verbal whack and people will kind of respect you for it and then behind the scenes call you a prick, right? Now, here, the thing
on earth. That's like my hell on earth.
It's not good. And I don't care whether or not Australians are listening and they would disagree. It's totally true. Anyway, but then here, it's funny, people would come to you and go, oh, I want to be successful. I want to use auction to grow my business. I want to do all these different things. Okay, great, let's do auction. And then they don't want to do all of the necessary additional work. It's 3 times the amount of work to do an auction. It really is to be successful. And then we get called, when it doesn't work out perfectly, we get called the people that hold them to account. We get called the assholes.
So good. So here's what I think, high level. I have 3 thoughts, and I'm actually going to give you an idea of what to say in that moment. I think Americans are so dang soft. We are so soft as people. I mean, you look, and then, right, we're either so soft or we're just like assholes. And we're like, well, that's just my truth. I'm just speaking my truth. You're like, no, you're an imbecile who's not clear at all.
Say what you were going to say. You're an idiot.
What's so funny that I didn't use that word because I hate stupid and idiot and weird. We don't use those words for my kids. And every time it's like, why do we not use that word? I'm like, because you sound like an imbecile. Like they're ignorant words. Use it more descriptive words. That's why I didn't use idiot.
I love it.
So we're soft. The second thing is truth will piss you off before it will set you free. Every time. So even the other night, I crawl into bed and I said to my husband, what if I have too much on my plate? And I just wanted him to coddle me. I just wanted him right to and he looks at me and he goes, well, then eat something off your plate. And
Trav.
Instantly, truth. And then I went, truth is going to piss you off before it's going to set you free. He goes, just take something off. And he rolls over to go to bed. And I was like,
Travis, you're my hero. You're my hero. That's amazing.
And then I was like, what's mine? What's his? Well, what's mine is I honestly just wanted to say to him, can you just I just want to vent. I just need to get this out. I actually wasn't honest with what I needed. I was asking a very manipulative question, right? To get coddled as opposed to hey, I need to wrestle with this. Will you let me just verbally throw up on you? That was mine. But then the second one's his. I was like, nothing. He just delivered truth. It was truthful. Then take something off your plate, not hard, right? So, but in a moment, that's really hard, especially if you're interacting with a not aware person or someone who is not used to this conversation, right? Travis and I, we know our limiting beliefs. We know our conviction. We know our burn. We know all of those things. Here's what you're going to say. Someone is going to say whatever they're going to say. Well, I was going to make my calls, but I didn't. Or, a staff member who says, well, I was going to do all of these things. And they come into the office and they give you every reason as to why they didn't do these things. Right. Or some narrative around, well, the industry that, or all the excuses. Once they're done talking, you're going to say, okay, can you help me understand? And you have to pause.
Can you help me understand?
Yeah. Can you help me understand why you said you were going to make these phone calls and you didn't? Can you help me understand why you think we're not doing our job? Can you help me understand, seller, why you think that we should sell your house for $1 million when all the other houses are selling for $750,000? Ask, can you help me understand? And then repeat what you heard him just say. Here's why this is good for both parties. Number one, it gives me space to slow my roll, especially from people like Ben Brady and Julia Gentry.
Oh, well, you just want to literally just want to go, they're starting to talk and you're like, no, just shut up. Okay, I've got it now. All right, fine.
Right. So it gives very forward thinking humans like Ben Brady and me the ability to slow down. It gives people who are a little bit more reactive or passive aggressive or we avoid hard conversations, the ability to catch up. Right? What it does for the other person is it lets them repeat whatever excuse and reason they have, which is so good for them because sometimes once you will see them start to repeat it and it will sound gross as they're saying it because it's an excuse, right? It's the gym's fault because they were closed at the time you wanted to go, right? It was the seller's fault because they did, as they say it again, it kind of brings awareness to their greatest reason. Once they're done, We've created a little bit of space and margin. So important in life and in business and relationships. I need some margin here. Once I have some margin and full understanding, I'll go, oh, okay, I hear you. Statement's really important. People don't want to be right. They want to be heard. This will change your marriage. This will change the conversation with a buyer or seller. We don't want to be right. We just want someone to go, oh, I hear you on that. I hear you. Then we say, okay, are you open for some feedback? Because here's how I look at this. Then you need to share with them your mindset. Because here's how I think about the seller. Okay, if you want $1 million, but it's listed at 750, here's how I think about this. If okay, you said you were going to do 25 and you only did 15, here's how I think about this. You said that you were going to be here on Monday at 9, you're here on Monday at 3, here's how I think about this. Now what you're doing is you're opening up this, like, here's how you think about it, here's how I think about it. Now at that level, we can make decisions based upon where we're going.
Yeah. And it changes the relationship with your people as well. Like, let's say that you're running a team, or even if you're in friendships, and obviously they're deep-seated friendships where you're talking about things and personal situations and things like that. It's amazing to see the growth of my team over the last little while, when the things that come out of my mouth are just, well, what do you think? Right? When somebody asks me a question, which has taken me just so long to even put into my vocabulary, and it's still not 100% in there. And then also, like, getting a better understanding of something and slowing down, even though your original thoughts are racing in your mind going, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. And then from there is then saying, hey, look, this is how I think about it, giving a teachable moment.
Yeah.
It's honoring that person more than you know.
Well, and I think, again, if we think about the goal of a relationship is connection, that's the goal. So if I can pause, which again, if you're quick start, like you and I'm high quick start. I mean, I'm off the charts on like dominant quick start. I move 1,000,000 miles an hour. I talk and then I think, never, generally is how this goes, right? The idea here is that in a relationship, whether it's buyer, seller, husband, wife, team members, business owner to staff, the goal of a relationship is connection. When I ask this question, now I actually know your fears and I know your dreams. I know what concerns you and I know what inspires you. Like, the answers that come out of that question, even though me on the receiving side might not like their answer, right? Like, I still might not even agree with their answer. I know them better. I know their mindset, because when I ask them, tell me how you think about this, they actually are revealing to me their starting point.
Yep.
They're revealing to me what their mindset is around something. Then I get to share my mindset around something. And then ultimately, if we're really in the idea of we want to get this property sold, or we want to be a better team, or we want to be more passionate in our marriage, then we have to look based upon where we're going, and we go, all right, based upon what you're thinking, what I'm thinking, what's our next steps based upon where we really want to end up? That's connection. So connection is actually being established in asking these questions. Now it's not about confrontation. It's not about a hard conversation. It's just connection.
Yeah. Can I ask, there's people that will insert themselves in to a situation. I don't know whether it's an addiction or drama, whether they genuinely believe they can help, and they just start, and again, I'm probably guilty of it before, of jumping into a situation that I just don't need to be. I actually had a situation yesterday that I kind of got roped into, and then all of a sudden I'm in the middle of it, and I've realized, what the fuck am I doing here? What are we talking about? Why am I? This is not my issue, and I'm deep into giving someone feedback. They probably haven't even given me permission for it. Realistically, all of these different things come to mind, but the people that are just I don't know, is it inserters? I don't know if that's the right word, but they really insert themselves into people's lives regardless of whether they've asked them to or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think that the place that I always start is just those moments for myself. At some level, it becomes too hard. Here's what I've said. If someone's doing that, I'm always fascinated of like, what's their limiting belief? And what's their Enneagram? Like, those are always the two questions that I'm asking. So if it's the guy at the grocery store that's like so pissed off at the world because nothing's happening the right way, I'm always fascinated, like, what's that guy's limiting belief? Like, I'd love to know his story, because it's not mine. So I'm not going to get all wrapped up into that. However, the moment for you, right? If we use this real time for the person listening to this, it's like, I want to be aware. I do that. I'm that guy. I'm the inserter, right? Fixing things or saving people or all the things. So my question to you is, why did you? So if you go back to that moment and you jump in My question is why? Why did you feel the need to do that?
It was actually at the time. Yeah, it's a good question. Me thinking about it, I haven't thought about it. Is that I really do believe like we got some feedback in a situation where we'd had previous feedback that was along the same lines, and it was about an individual that, and I just wanted to storm the castle and be like, what the fuck is going on here? What is going? This is another time that I've actually seen this happen. It was actually, and then halfway through the situation, realizing this is not my monkey.
Good. Yes. Yeah. So again, where it would be your lane is control. So we have to know our lanes, right? So you and I would know, especially Enneagram, that when I'm in a place of control or anger or pushing myself, my agenda, my way, I'm actually in the wrong lane. So the fact that you can catch that goes, I am trying to control here. Why? To probably protect all of my limiting beliefs, right? I don't want this thing to fall apart. I don't want to be judged. I don't want this, right? Like I told you and now I can't trust you.
Yep.
It's all up in that place. So those moments are profound because when you start to sense it, then you go, you're right, this is not my monkey anymore.
Yeah. And in that moment too, Julia, it was funny. It took, because I like every bone in my body's like, no, you've got to finish it out now. You're in the middle of it. Finish it out. But I didn't. I'm like, hey, guys, I've got to apologize. I've put myself into a situation where this is actually not our deal. I'm sorry.
You guys, Ben Brady, ladies and gentlemen, progress.
And to do that was a real brush to my ego. Like it was really like, check your ego at the door, buddy. And
but if we could do that, so if you think about Maslow's hierarchy, safety, security, stability, we're either making decisions down there, then it's ego.
Yeah.
If we want to actualize in this life, we actually want to feel the fire. We want to feel alive. We want to be successful and fulfilled. We have to kill our fear of safety, security, stability, and we have to kill our ego. So the fact that we did that, what it does is every time we do that, you start to settle back into, okay, I'm safe, I'm secure, I'm stable, I'm already loved for who I am, I'm free to be who I am. Look, I'm gonna get my hands off this. No fingerprints on this. Yeah. And now what am I going to do? I'm going to kill my ego. I'm going to walk in honor, which is one of your values. I'm going to inspire a better way. And as a leader, what does that mean? Hey, I missed it. In this moment, I am so sorry. You finish this. You can do this.
Yep.
People go, what is progress? That. Because 3 years ago, you wouldn't have done that.
No. And trust me, they're probably sitting on the other end of going, what the fuck just happened? What just happened? But realistically, I had to let that go at the risk of embedding a characteristic or a path in my brain that I didn't want.
Ego. That's the whole point, right? We have to do reps. So if you catch yourself halfway, even to the point that I gave earlier of this gentleman who was like, I wasn't going to work out, I wasn't going to make my calls. He could have continued to get reps in of not doing it. Or he can pause halfway through, just like you. I can pause halfway through. And for the sake of looking insane, which even for me as a mom, I do halfway through, just ready to unleash in front of my kids, I'll like be midway through and I will stop. And they look at me, they probably look at me the same way going, what is she going to do next? And I'm like, this is not who I am. This is not who you are. Let's hold on just a second. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I will do that halfway through. Why? But I don't want to do reps in that lane. I don't want to get better at controlling. I want to get better at being free.
You don't want the muscle memory. But I want to challenge you on one point here, is that I was thinking about it before, is that we use the word control as one of the words that, what does it give me? Control is usually the factor in the situation of what it's giving me. And that's what I need to break my relationship with. But there's another one. And I know that this is probably the same word as control, but maybe to hopefully, resonate with another format of the audience, is that proving people wrong. I know that that's an element of control, to control my feelings, to make sure that I'm always right. But in the sense of that is a real struggle for me in a moment where I can like it is guns blazing, seeing red. I need to make sure that I prove you wrong. And again, proving somebody wrong, I've never, ever seen it have any benefit whatsoever, apart from within for 3 minutes, I get a bit of a dopamine hit of going, yeah, sucked in, gotcha. And then it's all over, and I've just got to then mop up the mess that it's ultimately created.
Totally.
So to draw a parallel between control and proving people wrong to make them the same thing, is that fair?
Yes, 100%. 100%. Yeah. I mean, again, if you go back to why do I keep these patterns, if you can catch a pattern in your life and you can keep asking, what is this giving me? A lot of times the first answer is, well, nothing. I don't like it. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to keep doing that. Well, fair, but it's giving you something.
Mm.
Right. So if I prove someone wrong, it still puts me in control. Then you're like, oh, that's fascinating. Then you ask, okay, I could be in control or I could be free. Right. My pattern was hiding. So if I think about success, alcohol, to your point, like pushing my agenda, what am I doing? I finally had to sit with, what is it that this is giving me? It's giving me a place to hide. All right. You can keep hiding or you can be free. And so then you start looking at all the things that you're doing in the moment and afterwards, and hindsight and foresight and all the things, and you just start to create, to your point, that muscle memory.
Yeah.
Practice makes permanent on anything.
Yeah.
Anything. Vulnerability and surrender equally to control and anger. I'm going to practice until permanent. And so the idea here is, what are you practicing?
Yeah. And it's changed in a sense that, I've had a couple of, the last week's been a tumultuous week, and there's been a few moments where I've and by the way, this is kind of bridging into the catch up that you and I are having after this, but it's been a tumultuous week, and it's funny. Well, it's not funny because it's been this way for a long time now. I can't isolate it to this, but it's just been a little bit up this week. Is that there's been moments where, man, I've proved some people wrong this week. Holy shit, I proved some people wrong. And I've got to be honest, afterwards, I feel like shit. It just drains me. I feel guilty. I don't know how to explain it. It's just I haven't been as conscious as what I need to be in individual moments, because I'm giving myself the excuse that there's a lot going on and there's a lot of change and all these different things. And I'm just reacting instead of actually like absorbing, and my reactions have been punchy. They've been really punchy this week, and I feel so bad after them that this is the part of this consciously incompetent that is a mental challenge for a lot of people when they start actually wanting to do something like this, being this work.
This is the most profound moment. Right? This is the most profound moment, because if you think about, even when you said the dopamine hit, this is like an addict of any kind, right? Alcohol, sex, success, control, you name it, right? We'd prefer a familiar hell to an unfamiliar heaven. But this is the moment that's incredible, because prior to a level of awareness that something else is available, that dopamine hit gives me exactly what I need. That alcohol gives me exactly what I need, right? Proving someone wrong, get that anger, like it actually feels like it is giving me what I need. As you start to progress and you start to go, I don't think that's serving me anymore, right? Like even for me, the alcohol got me to where I was, right? Like some of control, Ben, we talked about this in one of the very first sessions. I remember you going, but this has made me be successful. And I'm like, I know. Right? Like a lot of times, the things that we do, our anger, our control, the money, the success, like the love of whatever it is has made us successful. But then we go, I don't think that this is going to take me to where I've never been, right? Once you start to lean into, well, what's potentially possible? Freedom, right? We say this to people all the time. They buy my book about dreaming, but we're actually giving people freedom. That's what we're giving people.
That's the next book.
Once it is the next book. It actually is the next book. Here's what freedom is. Anything at the top of Maslow's hierarchy is a growth need, which means the more I have of it, the more I want it. Everything else is a deficiency need, meaning once I have a baseline of that need met, I don't need more of it. And when I do, it starts to make me sick. When I start to taste freedom, all of a sudden I take a deep breath and my soul can breathe. Now, if I go back to anger, control, alcohol, a bad relationship, all of a sudden you go, oh no, this is not even giving me what it used to give me.
Yep.
That liminal space is interesting though, because I don't have full freedom yet. I'm not walking I haven't fully wrapped my heart and my mind and my habits and my patterns and routines around it. So I'm feeling a little empty. Like I've let go of this, but I haven't grabbed onto that. And so but that's not giving me what I want. And what do I want? You want freedom. So now you're in the gym. Right now you're going to get your reps in and you're going to go, freedom. I will do this from freedom. I will do this from love over and over and over and over again. And I will not go back. And in the moment and after the moment, you'll go back, you'll apologize. Hey, I had control repped all over that comment. And you start to kill the ego. You start to kill the attachments to the addiction. We have to let it go And we have to double down on freedom, love, fulfillment, significance, right? We have to double down on that.
Don't know a better place to end. Thank you for joining us again, Julia, the growth coach. So about 75% of our audience hasn't liked, followed, or subscribed to our podcast. It would mean the world to us, and it would help this podcast more than you know to expand our reach if you were to like, follow, or subscribe on any of the platforms that you're watching or listening on. Thanks again.